CEO and founder at Pure Channel Apps, and today I'm delighted to have with me Angela Leach, Senior Channel Marketing Manager at Adobe. Angela will, I think, give you a very good overview of how Adobe is changing the way the company works with its own partners, sales partners and employees via pretty revolutionary channel communication platforms and social media platforms, social media engagement and syndication platforms that we have developed. So before I leave Angela to talk about experiences and Adobe's experiences about Adobe Partner News, as it's called, I would like to give you a short overview of who we are at Pure Channel Apps and what those platforms will be talking about, what they do. For Pure Channel Apps, it's quite simple. We founded the company in June 2011. We have today two key solutions. Those are the solutions we'll be describing. They include Social Demand, which is a very unique social media syndication platforms that enables vendors and brands to syndicate and amplify their content through their sales partners and the social networks of those partners. So that's Social Demand, which at Adobe is called Adobe Social Demand with slightly different spelling. The second platform we deliver is also a very unique platform. It's called News on Demand, and it's a way to create dynamic newsletters for your partners and influencers based on your content, of course, but on their preferences as it comes to the type of content they would like to receive and when they would like to receive, and we'll describe that. So, as you can see, we've been very busy since we were founded a couple of years ago. We today have a very significant number of customers, principally in the IT sectors, on board. I'd like to draw your attention to a non-IT customer of ours, who is a recent customer called Mountain Hardware, part of the Columbia Sport Group. But essentially, this is what we do and why we launched Social Demand. We discovered, based on all the research by firms such as Serious Decisions or Forrester Research, and also based on feedback we gathered from existing customers, that tech buyers in general, and I would say actually all buyers today, are spending a significant amount of time on social networks or with peers before they engage with sales, and sales being either your sales organization or your partner sales organizations. So how can we influence these people before we actually know they are buyers? And this is a challenge that we all, as IT suppliers and brands around the world, are really facing today. The issue we're facing is that as a brand, as you can see on the last two bullet points here, as brand, we typically don't engage our partners in syndication of content and in social media. We are struggling to get partners to take our content and to push it out to their own customers. At the same time, when I look at social media, those partners do struggle to do social media. Why? They're typically not very large. They typically lack the time, resource, content, and knowledge to do social media. So how can we, with marketing power that we, the vendors, the brand have, how can we engage our partners and give them content, let them take that content to be their own and to influence their existing customers or new prospects? Well, the solution to that, we believe, is Social Demand, our platform. Essentially, we, the brand, you, the brand at the very top, can take your social media content, tag that content based on a number of properties, which we obviously enable all our customers to set as themselves. And based on those properties, that content that you create and you publish is actually filtered and sifted through the relevant partners in the middle of that chain, as you see on that screen. And Social Demand enabled them to take that content, your content, and essentially repost it on their own social networks as if it was their own. And essentially, this is what Social Demand does. It enables you to amplify your messages through your partners. It lets them see your content, sift through that content very easily, edit that content, and very importantly, post that content on Facebook, LinkedIn, Viadeo, Zing, Twitter, as they wishes. To do that, we have some very comprehensive filtering that enable the partners to only receive your content that's relevant to them and their customers. We enable the publishing to Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social networks via their APIs, which enables us to provide a very robust and easy-to-use platform. But what's very beneficial, we enable you, the vendor, to actually create, deliver, and approve content at a global level. So you can have product managers in parts of the world creating content, maybe for the world, but actually giving your regional teams in your different territories, sales territories, the power to take that content that's been centrally created, to tweak it, to translate it, to disregard it, to schedule it at the different times. So Social On Demand is a very global platform that enables the dissemination of brand content through the partners' social networks. Of course, as you can see on the top left here, we give you very extensive analytics that can tell you which partner is taking your content, the size of those social networks, how many social platforms they're leveraging, and for each post that you create and syndicate through the platform, we can tell you how many times it's been reposted by your partners, in which part of the world, in what language. If the posts have been edited by the partners, we can tell you how many downloads, clicks, retweets, and likes those have generated. This is Social On Demand, and this is the platform that Adobe is leveraging today in Europe and in US. Another view to this is really, instead of going up to down, we're going to go sideways now. If you start on the left, you input your news, you tag your news. Based on those tags, some partners, the ones that are interested in those topics, get the news by email, they see them, they click it, they go to their portal, they can edit your news, they can repost in one click your news to any of their social networks, whether they're LinkedIn or LinkedIn groups, Facebook accounts or fan pages, Twitter accounts. And of course, their followers, and trust me, your partners have many, many followers, can then read those posts, click on the links, and view your content. So this is, again, the benefits that we bring to yourselves and your partners. At the brand level, this platform enables you to amplify your messages to much larger audiences. Okay, it enables you to better engage with your partners and leverage their presence and the very little marketing they have. And of course, with this platform, we can enable you to track the success of your own social media activities and the engagement of your partners. For the IT vendors on the call, what this provides is essentially a key benefit in your partner program, a key benefit to the relationship you have with your sales partners. And for them, your partners or employees, because we can also do that for employees, you enable your partners to be the trusted advisors, to take your content and replicate it as if it was their own on their social networks. What that means is they become more socially active and they grow their social networks. As you know, the more content, the more followers. So essentially, we're helping solve two of their problems. First of all, the sifting of content. A lot of partners deal with many brands, many suppliers. Here, each brand can supply content, and that content can be routed and tailored to each partner. And of course, once this is done properly, your partners will generate more interest from their followers, which means more leads and more business for both you and your partners. So this is a very quick overview of Social On Demand. I'm going to now move to the next platform that we have. And this is about communication to your partners. So now forget about the through marketing I've been just talking about with Social On Demand. Now we're talking about your marketing to your partners. We know your partners, whatever space you're in, are getting a lot of emails. They're getting a lot of emails from all of the suppliers and from many other sources. So we know the response rates for these emails are declining. They're getting too many emails with news that they don't even want. It's very expensive, as you know, to create targeted newsletters for each and individual partners of yours. So because of that, typically brands and suppliers are creating one-size-fits-all type newsletters. You don't listen to your partners, you don't have the money to actually create newsletters that are targeted to each of your audiences. Because of that, we find partners are simply not receptive to those news communications. Okay, very difficult for them to receive all these emails, to read all these emails, knowing full well that the information contained in these emails is not tailored to their needs. Instead, we believe news should always be targeted. We believe news should always be timely too. Okay, there's no point in waiting for a monthly newsletter that includes content that's 30 days old. It's too old. We believe also news should be the same whether they access them from the newsletter or maybe if they go to your portal to access those newsletters. But more importantly, and the fundamental change that we enable is partners should decide what content they want to receive, but also how often they want to receive it. Now, how do we do that at PureTime Labs? Well, essentially, I've got a few screenshots here. If you start with the first one on the top left, first of all, and I hope you can all see that screen, partners, in the case of Adobe, have the option to select the product families they're interested in. See those ticks? They select that. The second thing they have to do, and really the innovation behind social demand, is they decide also for the type of news that they're going to receive, whether it's about products, whether it's about case studies, whether it's about promotions, whether it's about industry news, when they would like to receive those news. Do they want to receive straight away? Do they want a weekly update, a monthly update, a bi-weekly update? We enable all of that. Essentially, News on Demand enables the creation of newsletters dynamically based on those filters, based on those frequencies that have been set by the partners, okay, and combines all of that with your content and maybe your restrictions as to who should see that content, what part of the world, what language, what type of partners. In the case of Norton, let's look at an example like this, a newsletter that's been dynamically created with 2 articles. But in the case of SAP, you can see the kind of designs we have here. That newsletter you see on the right-hand side has not been coded in HTML. That newsletter has been dynamically created by our platform and actually is very unique to every single partner of SAP. So it's a very unique solution that enables you essentially to create very beautiful newsletters with very little HTML expertise, and also to create newsletters that are targeted to what your partners want to receive and when they want to receive it. And of course, if you finish here, you can see here on the Adobe Partner News Portal that the partners who receive their newsletters also can access those newsletters directly from their partner portal. So wherever they touch you, whether they're getting the news by email or whether they're accessing the portal to get some information, the information is the same and is always targeted. The results? Well, the results, I think, speak for themselves. And you see here an example from a customer of ours. You see open rates, very high open rates, 40, 50% open rates, quite incredible. You see here in these columns, clicks from emails, very high click rates, 5%, 3%, 20%. We can also track how many people have actually seen the news from the portal against very good rates. And we see how many people have clicked from the portal. Why do we have such click rates? It's quite simple. News are always targeted. The news are always timely. The news are the same everywhere. And of course, people feel empowered because they've had the option to decide what they want and when they want to receive it. Now, on that note, and I hope I haven't taken too much of your time, I would like to turn over to Angela. I've known Angela for quite a while, and Angela recently moved. So, sorry, before I move that, if you want more information, and you'll see that on the PowerPoint we'll send you, and the recording we'll send you of the call, feel free to contact me directly. We have also a number of partners around the world. If you're interested, just feel free to contact them. But to go back to the flow there, what I wanted to do is pass over to Angela, who is a senior channel marketing manager at Adobe. Angela has been fundamental in the deployment of social demand and news on demand at Adobe, and I'm sure she's going to be giving you some very good insight as to how it worked and how it's delivering great results to Adobe. Angela, for you.
Thank you, Olivier, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the call today. As Olivier said, I am the EMEA Channel Marketing Programs Manager at Adobe, and I've been here for just coming up to 3 years. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to give you a brief introduction to Adobe. I know some of you will know who Adobe is and what we do. but I will run through that, and then I'm going to cover off some of the challenges we were facing around communicating and leveraging our partner ecosystem. And then I'm also going to run through some of the results we've seen since launching the platform. I'm not sure how many of you know Adobe. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Adobe Acrobat, or Adobe might be the PDF company. You'll also hear of Photoshop, but we do much, much more in terms of our products and solutions. We were founded in 1982, so over 30 years now we've been operating within the IT industry. Our revenues last year were in excess of 4.4 billion, and we have over 11,000 employees in 80 offices across 41 countries. We're headquartered over in San Jose. And if you want to go on to the next slide, Olivier, please. Thank you. So just a little bit about what Adobe does, because as I say, a lot of people know us as the PDF company, the Acrobat, the Photoshop company, but really in terms of our vision is that Adobe is changing the way through digital experiences. A lot of people don't know, but Adobe are virtually everywhere you look, from TV and movies to magazines to websites to advertising. And for 30 years, we've really enabled businesses to engage their customers and consumers as the web and digital experiences have evolved. We are going through a big transformation within the company, and we're seeing, a lot of transformation across our customers and the digital world that we live in. And obviously, being a digital leader, we had to be very unique in the way that we would continue to communicate with our partner ecosystem, and we had to be very professional and be able to appear as a very digital, very online-based sort of helping vendor. If you go on to the next slide, please, Olivier. So Adobe has a real advantage, actually. We have, I'm sure some of you have heard, we have a creative cloud and a marketing cloud. So I can hear some interference on the line. Can you hear that? I'll carry on. So we have a real advantage with our Creative Cloud and Marketing Cloud. We're one of the only companies that can provide rich integrated platforms across the entire content lifecycle, from creation of content and managing that through our Creative Cloud all the way up to measurement and monetization. The Creative Cloud, which I'm sure I hope a lot of you will have heard of recently, consists of the best creative tools and digital tools and services in the world for creative digital experiences. And the Adobe Marketing Cloud consists of a lot of industry-leading, big data solutions. It's got a content management platform and a lot of very clever algorithms that involve a lot of web and digital optimization. And integrating those two clouds and bringing that together has been a real important vision for us this year. And as I say, we needed to find ways to address our channel and sort of have our own processes and our communications match up to our actual corporate vision. If you lead on to the next slide, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our channel landscape. So within Europe, we have the Adobe Partner Connection Program. We launched that in our central region in December 2010. We then took it across the rest of EMEA in 2011, and it's now a global program. I'm sure, like many of you out there who do have, partner programs, it's a multi-tier program with different partner levels. We have a two-tier distribution model within EMEA, so working with distributors and resellers. And we also have a large retail e-tail channel along with electronic software distribution. So lots of different types of partners in there. There's 4 tiers within the program. At the very high end, we have our platinums, which are our tens of partners within the countries. And there's another 3 tiers leading down to our registered partners that are obviously in the tens of thousands, which presents a big challenge in how you can, get the right information to those partners and still make it relevant. Multiple languages was another big challenge of ours, and I'm sure like a lot of you don't have resources in every country. We don't have large localization budgets. So in terms of how we could try and be more localized in our communications was also a big challenge. We work with some of the very top VARs in Europe down to some very, very small resellers. So again, how could we make those messages relevant to everyone? And we have a distributor program as well as many accreditations and specializations from, SMB, enterprise. We have product specializations. We've got education. There's licensing. There's, programmatic information. There's enablement information. So again, originally we were just sending everything to everyone, but we really did know that it was not a one-size-fits-all approach. And if you go on to the next slide, Olivier, I've just listed out some of the challenges we've had, and I'm sure some of these will be very familiar to some of you on the phone. Within Adobe, we're a large organization, 11,000 people. That brings a lot of stakeholders to the table in terms of what people want to communicate. Another issue we have is, of course, internally every stakeholder believes their news is the most important and the highest priority. So, this whole push communication to everything could mean that sometimes we just had too much information, and we were, bombarding our partners, and we knew that we were being lost in, that big array of emails that they get from other vendors too. So that was a big challenge for us. We had a real inconsistent message and tone across the whole of our communications. It was executed within the regions. There was shared ownership and no central ownership or dedicated resources to really, bring some consistency to the whole thing. By having it in the regions, it was high resource, it was high cost. We had different people doing it in different ways, different delivery mechanisms. Some were using portals. We had some people actually sending emails from their own Exchange inboxes, which is obviously not very attractive. We then had a complete lack of reporting and tracking. So, once we pushed all this communication out, we didn't know who was reading it. We didn't know where it was going per se. And we had no archive. So unless that partner had read that email that day, there was nowhere to refer back to for any information. As I said, it was all very push communications. We weren't able to segment anything. As I say, it was one size fits all, and we were pushing everything to everyone. We had different frequencies. I could go on forever around the communication challenges, but these were some of the key ones. And something that Olivier touched on, and we've really noticed within our channel, is the social provision within some of our resellers. They really don't have some of the resources. We found sometimes it was an office manager doing the social activity. Sometimes it was an intern or, someone new who was young because they felt they would know social media. And we really wanted to address that and, help our partners do it. And then at the other end of the scale, we had some partners coming to us, particularly in the UK, who are moving away from the push, type marketing demand. And we have 2 resellers in the UK at the moment who will only use social as their awareness and demand mechanism. So we knew we had to really address that. And at Adobe, we're very lucky. We do have a lot of social content. What we weren't very good at was getting that to and through our partners. So they're the challenges we faced. As Olivier mentioned, I have worked with Pure Channels for quite a few years in different roles. They've worked with me on partner recruitment campaigns and things like that. So I knew they had a very good approach to working with the channel, and obviously I got them in to present our challenges, and they had the perfect solution for us. So Adobe Partner News, as we have branded it, very much brings to Adobe the ability to target our news in a timely manner to all of our partners. And I think, Olivier mentioned it, but one of the key strengths to us is it delivers the news our partners want, when they want it, how often they want it. And we've never been able to do that. And not only that, they can choose the type of news down to, market types. We could actually send information to a set of partners, so if we have something particular for our distribution channel, we can now target that communication and be very, very specific. The other thing that was a big benefit to us is, I'm sure like some of you, we have limited resources across the European and Middle East region. So the ability for not only us as employees and my corporate team in North America, but all of our own agencies are able to also go into the system and assist in, updating news. I cannot tell you how easy the platform is to use. I can even create news myself, which if anyone knew how technical I was, they'd understand, how key that is. It is extremely simple. and it's very easy for the partners to understand the system. It also gave us the ability to go to particular countries. We can put content up for limited time periods, and now we can have our promotions with start and end dates, and we know that news isn't going to filter any further. The ability to have longer articles as well. So a traditional thing in terms of some of our operational emails is we could be sending 2 to 3 page emails. I think we all know very few people are going to read that. So not only do we have the ability to send emails and dynamic newsletters, but we can almost do it with a teaser now, and then bring the partners back to the portal to download documents or read further, which is actually really important to us. The other thing is scheduling. You can have news content ready for an announced date or an important product launch, and again that can all be automated through the system. And then this was another real key thing for us, because obviously we're getting our partners into the system, but in terms of our partner program, sometimes we have contractual information that has to be communicated. So what Olivier's built into the system is the ability to deliver that information without it being opted out of. We have some of our nice information, which is, they can choose when they have it. It may not be relevant. But in terms of our contractual information, we can deliver that into our partners' hands, and we know that they've received it, which again is a big thing for us, because with no tracking, we could never guarantee that before. On the next slide, Olivia, I'll just cover off what social on demand has brought to us at Adobe. Again, I think I really want to emphasize the ease of use of the social platform. Basically, our partners now don't even have to sign in to the platform to be able to repost content. They receive, again, based on their preferences, they receive an email to say when content has become available. And very, very quickly, they can choose to quickly edit or repost that content through their own channels. And they can choose each individual channel. So again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. They can take one piece of news, all pieces of news, and they can publish it through their social channels. And we really had to help them, deliver that. But at the same time, for Adobe, it gives us massive amplification of our content, which is, really fantastic for us, because Adobe has a very creative background. We have a lot of creative professionals that we talk to, but our resellers really reach some of those IT and buyer people that maybe we're not talking to. So that's been a real key thing for us. It obviously drives further awareness and demand through the social channels. It's completely relevant again, because the partners can choose what kind of social information they receive. We can track where our posts are going. For the first time, I can see which of our posts are working well through our partners, which aren't. And when we first approached it, actually, we thought it was going to have to be a lot of very channel-centric content. But what we're finding is where the partners just want to be able to show that they're working with Adobe and they're sort of trusted advisors, is a lot of those are taking content that may not be that relevant to them, but is actually generating awareness for their social channels. So that's been a big step for us. And also automatic posting, and this was even a surprise to myself. The system will allow, once partners have gone in and set it up, the ability to automatically repost content we put on there. Personally, I felt that most partners would be reluctant to do this, but I believe we have around 80 to 90 partners just automatically reposting some of our social content. So not even reviewing it, they are happy, they trust us, and they are more than happy to just repurpose that. So that's been a huge achievement for us. And again, in terms of the platform, our agencies, and my internal users, my corporate teams, my social agencies, can all log into the platform and add content themselves. So it really enables the whole organization and our third parties to really deliver this. If you go on to the next slide, Olivia, I'm just going to start talking through some of how the story started and evolved, and then I'll run through some results with you. So back in March of last year, we ran a trial of the Adobe social platform with some of our UK partners. It was a small hand-picked section of partners, and those partners that we work with quite closely. And following a very successful trial that we ran, I think it was for around 6 months in the end, Olivier, I then approached the business as I saw the benefits to it, and we looked to deploy the whole social and news platform across the whole region. And in March 2013, as you can appreciate, it takes a little while to get these things going, we did launch that across the region, and it is available in all countries in EMEA. Initially, we just had 3 languages, and that was English, French, and German. And that's primarily down to our own resources in terms of localization. We've now added Turkish, which may sound a little bit way out there. However, in terms of social, Turkey is one of the leading regions in terms of social content and posting and leveraging social networks. So we've added that one quite quickly, and we will look to add further languages. Because one thing we have found on the social side is obviously the more local you can make the social content, the more relevant it is. So we will be looking further into that. And now we're also, we're getting our other key divisions within Adobe, so our retail e-tail team, our partner enablement teams, our program management teams, to also leverage the platforms as well. And then, I don't think you mentioned it, Olivier, but we've recently introduced a social leads trial, which is a way of actually capturing leads as customers go through the posts that the resellers make, and then those leads go back directly to the partners. We literally started this last month. It's very early days, but I'm sure we will get back to you all and give you a bit more information in terms of how that's going. So on the next page, I'll talk a little bit around our partner recruitment, and I think this is very key in terms of driving the success of the platform. We work with our operations teams, and every 2 weeks we do a data extract of our partner information through our partner program and those that have signed up. We then send that on to Pure Channels, who have some fantastic technology that basically means that for our partners they were able to pre-populate certain information, so we were able to send a pre-registration personalized email, and then when our partners clicked through to that, immediately all they had to fill out was 1 or 2 pieces of information and they were in the system. So obviously trying to make it as easy as possible for the partners to get on board was a key focus for us. And then we did do it in English, French and German as well to reach some of those tier 1 markets. And so far, we're really pleased with how it's gone. We've got 83% of our whole distribution ecosystem registered and in the system. We have 81% of our platinum partners, 64% of our gold partners, and then as we get into the lower levels, you can see the numbers decrease in sort of the certified level. And a lot of that is due to the fact that we're not talking to these partners day in, day out. They're not account managed. So we're trying to do a bit more enablement there. We're pushing our distributors, to ask the partners to also sign up to the platforms. But we are constantly seeing the numbers grow, and we're going to do some more enablement there to sort of grow those numbers even further. And then in terms of registered users in our distributors, we've got 175 registered users, and you can see in the resellers, we're over 2,600, which is great. And then we're also leveraging the platform internally. So when we're communicating out to our resellers, we have distribution lists within our channel account managers, and we're able to share that information immediately with them too, which is another huge advantage, because our internal communications could be as challenging as our external at some point. So in terms, on the next slide, sorry Olivia, in terms of the how we're doing, what kind of experiences we're seeing around open rates. In terms of our emails actually and our articles, we've been very lucky, and we have been getting some really, really good rates through the system. In terms of emails, which is very much the kind of push mechanism and a lot of our programmatic information, we've sent 62 since launching the platform. 45 of those have been in English, and you'll see, a few we've started to do in more local language. The average open rate that we've been experiencing, which is really good, is 35%. And as I say, prior to having this system, I wasn't able to provide any statistics or data on how our communications were doing, and we're getting a extremely high rate of click-throughs of 7.5%. And then obviously as you get further down, there's an open rate and click rate for our lower non-registered partners. So I find this quite interesting, even though the partners haven't taken the steps or the time to register for the system, they're still interested in reading the news. So once they're on board, we can try and pull them into the system and register. But before we didn't know who was reading it, who wasn't, how many people were being reached. So this has given us real visibility into, where our communications are going. And then just to give you some really good stats, we have 2 of our highest open rates on our emails. We had a 75% open rate on some upcoming announcements we were doing in May. And then actual click-through rate, so this is not just opening, this is partners actually taking an action from within the email. We're seeing around 35% when it's linking to a particular event or video or something that requires the partners to take an action. So we're really, really pleased with how, the traction we're seeing there. And then on the next slide, in terms of our articles, we're seeing, again, some very, very similar traction. So you'll see here we've done a bit more in terms of the content. So 110 newsletter articles have been posted. We've done more local content, so nearly 30 of those have been in our central in our German, Austria and Switzerland region, the DACH region. And then again, as we come down, we've got 17 by the French team, we've got some by the Italian team, and I believe also we're doing some in Spanish now. So we're constantly looking at ways, again, to get more localization. Our open rates and click rates, as you can see here, are 40% for each, which again is really, really high. And I think, as Olivier said, I really believe a lot of this success is down to the targeting. These partners are only receiving information they want as opposed to information that may have been pushed to them. Just to give you some of the highest rates in terms of our communications, I think, as most of you would expect, our highest open rate was for an extension to a promotion, so very key to all of our partners. It was time sensitive. So that was one of our biggest open rates. And then again, most of our articles are getting around 50 to 60% click-through rates, which is absolutely phenomenal. And we can track those. We can see which partners are clicking where, which again just gives us visibility. And I really do believe it's down to the targeting that we now have, because partners are getting it when they want it. We've done a bit of research, and quite interestingly, around 95% of all our registrations want just a weekly consolidated newsletter. A lot of them don't want to receive it daily. They think weekly is enough as long as they're getting the information that they've only requested. So that's been really good for us. And then in terms of our social reach, on the next slide, Olivier, our partners have added over 1,700 social media accounts across the region, which is, again, a lot higher than what we anticipated. And through those social media accounts, it's given us a reach of over 327,000 connections. When I mention a connection, as it says here, that can be a contact, it can be a friend or a follower, because obviously through the different platforms, there's different mechanisms for obviously the reach. And I think another thing that came as a surprise to us, we expected LinkedIn to be particularly high. 844 accounts have been added with a reach of 88,000 connections and contacts. But the Facebook actually was a big surprise to us in terms of how many accounts were added, but also the friends on those pages. LinkedIn, I think we all know, is a business platform, but I think this is really showing how Facebook is really elevating itself in terms of the business and commercial world and the value that it can have there. And then as you come down, Twitter, 208 accounts have been added. There's 40,000 followers there, and you can see Viadio and Zing. And then at the bottom, we've just done a geographic split for you, so you can see, where we're getting that traction. But in total, that I can sit here and tell corporate that we can take a social post and we can amplify that to over 327,000 connections is just a huge benefit to us. And we are seeing some really fantastic results in terms of the click-throughs and things like that, which I think we cover on the next page, Olivier. So that's obviously giving you an idea of our reach, which is all well and good, but you probably want to know, so what does that actually mean in terms of the amplification? So we've created nearly 1,000 posts within the system, and that's been in a 6 or 7 month period, I think. So I am very lucky we get a lot of content in terms of our social channels. 501 of those posts have been reposted over 6,300 times by our partners. And I can see that. I can see which partners, I can see when they did it, I can see exactly which account they posted it to, and I can click through to their LinkedIn page or, you know, whatever they've linked to and see all of that, which is really, really, you know, powerful to us. And then of those posts, those 501 posts, we've generated in terms of retweets or likes, nearly 630. And then in terms of the actual click-through, so in the post normally we will link to a blog post or a dedicated landing page. We've generated over 116,000 click-throughs for our partners. And again, my partners can log into the system and they can see everywhere that that has been clicked through or retweeted, but I can also see that too. So not only am I amplifying, you know, the content that we have, I'm also able to go back and say what content works and what doesn't, and, you know, what's doing really well, what isn't. And, you know, the best post we've ever done was actually a video, you know, nothing too, it's not a promotion, it's not time sensitive, but it was a really good video explaining a new technology of ours. And this was reposted 70 times by our partners very, very quickly, and that generated over 1,000 links across those 70 posts. So it's just phenomenally successful. It gives us great visibility into, you know, where our content is going, how it's being amplified, and what our partners are wanting to use. And I get visibility into, you know, where we're seeing successes, which countries and which partners are getting the most success. And we are just seeing the numbers grow day in, day out at the moment, I have to say. So in terms of next steps, we have some challenges that we need to address. So on the next slide, some areas we really want to get to is at least having 100% of our top tier partners, so our disties, our platinum and our gold partners, to all be registered into the system. We've created some tools, some sort of enablement tools to help with that. So on the right of the page here, you can see an infographic that Pure Channels have put together for us that we're sending out via our channel account managers. We're posting it on our portals. We're just trying to make it very easy for the partners to understand about adding more social accounts and posting more, because we want to grow that social reach. And then we're going to have a lot more partner enablement. We're looking to get more certified and registered partners. You know, we're not aiming to have 100%. We probably would never reach the 100% mark in those lower areas, but we are looking to get more of them. And as I say, we're using our distributors to help us with engagement there. We're having some infographics that we're going to send out through the platform and drive awareness and registrations through our own hubs, our distributor hubs, and our own mechanisms. And then something we've recognized, and that, you know, this is always a resource budget balance exercise, is we need more local news. We need more local content, and we're pushing much more for that. We're pushing more of our programmatic communications through the systems and getting our other partners involved, like our retail e-tail partners. We're looking to grow much more of the articles within the system to make it much more dynamic in how the news is received. And then we're also doing a refresh of sort of content categorization and the communication frequency, and looking at what our partners have chosen over the last 6 or 7 months and coming up with perhaps better ideas, rationalizing the selections that they can make and just making it a bit easier for them. And then finally, on the next slide, we just need to get more partners using the Adobe Social Channel. We're seeing particular successes in particular countries and regions, but we want to drive it across all our regions, and more local social content will help with that. But we're also working with Olivier and his team to provide sort of social media training, and drive further adoption through that, and then things like animation, infographics, webinars. We're mentioning it at our partner briefings, and we're just trying to enable our partners much, much better to bring their social accounts on board. And then, as I've mentioned, you know, 2 or 3 times, is having more local content that's more relevant to those local partners, and working with our PR and social teams to leverage the existing social channels that are around the organization. And we'll continue to drive further adoption of social and provide more content, and obviously track and measure where that content and amplification is going. But that's pretty much it in terms of registrations. We've been extremely happy with the way that the platform has been deployed and the way that partners have signed up. It's just more about localization now and continuing to have a broader reach.
Thank you very much, Angela. I think you need to rest now, but no, thank you very much for this fantastic presentation. I have to say to everybody on the line, I mean, this story is a true success story. So we started with a trial in the UK. Under Angela's guidance, this has been rolled out to Europe, both news on demand and social on demand. And what Angela hasn't said also is that we are now deploying social on demand to the US, and there are other parts of Adobe that are going to roll out this platform moving forward. So thank you very much, Angela, for your time today. Thank you very much for your time over the last 6 months. I do have a few questions, so I'll give you a bit of a rest, Angela, because some of those questions I think I can answer are linked to Pure Channel Apps. We'll start with these, and then I'll submit the questions for you to answer after that. The first question I have, someone is saying, what happens when a partner has 2 or more manufacturers who use social demand? Is there a single sign-on? So let me explain. Each deployment we have is per customer. For some customers, those deployments are standalone, like in the case of Adobe, so a partner would have to register for that platform. But for other customers, we have single sign-on with whatever partner portal they have. So in any instance, we're trying to minimize the impact we create by introducing new tools, and for many customers, social demand or news on demand are part of their partner portal. Okay. Questions for you, Angela. What was the ramp-up time from signing on to rolling out the social on-demand tool? How long has it taken you to go live?
So in terms of the pilot that we ran for UK, because that was one language, it literally took us a few weeks. It was working very closely with Olivier and his team. A lot of the platform infrastructure already exists, so it was about making it into an Adobe version, getting the brand approval and all of those kind of things. But it really didn't take very long at all to be up and running. It was when we had to go broader, add more languages. But it's been extremely quick. I think in terms of actual, from the time we finished the pilot to getting everything up, in fact the platform was ready, it was our own resources, procurement, contracts, all of those things that have to happen that took longer. So in terms of if you wanted to deploy this in one country and one language, I would say you could have it ready in a matter of weeks. And then in terms of perhaps more localized content, because you've got more stakeholders, it would take a few months. But it was really very quick. As I say, the infrastructure exists. It was more difficult actually getting my own content internally and the right stakeholders and approvals than anything the platform was related to. So that was my experience. I don't know, Olivia, if you give us sort of standard lead time for setting up the platform, but it was extremely quick and extremely efficient.
To be fair, Angela, I think you hit it on the nail there. Most of the time we are hindered by corporate and internal paperwork and contracts and so on. We can deploy the platforms very quickly in several languages, so all very quick. I have another question which relates to that, and I'll answer that one. Someone is saying this sounds great, but not very helpful to me unless I have all of the European languages, APAC languages, and Brazilian Portuguese, and Latin American Spanish. Let me answer that. The platform in itself is today available or has been deployed for some customers in 27 languages. So the reseller-facing portal is available in Japanese, in Hebrew, in Arabic, in all of the European languages, in Latin American languages, and it's really a choice that you as a brand, as a vendors, really have. We can deploy the platform in local languages also very rapidly, but obviously you need to deliver content behind it and have a structure behind to support either social media content in local language or news on articles in local language, and I think Angela tapped on that today. Okay. Yeah. Angela, I've got a quick question for you there. How many of your partners chose to have social media post automatically versus manual?
As a percentage, I think, let me try and do the math. I would say it's nearly 10% of our partners that have registered social accounts are now automatically posting. Now, that does depend on the content category, to be very clear. So some will choose to post all of our corporate news directly, but they may want to edit another news type first. So that's what's really nice, is the partners don't have to go, no, I have to take everything. They can choose per content category which items they want to repost. But I think we're at nearly around the 10% mark of all of our social posters are now delivering content automatically.
Okay, good. I've got another question for you, Angela. How many internal employees manage the system?
Great question. When we launched, there were 2 of us. And to be honest, the actual administration of the system is quite easy. What we struggled with, and you may yourselves, is when there's local content, you obviously want local approvers to be able to approve that and send it out. So again, it depended on where we had local language resources. But in terms of actually administering it and entering content, now we do have some extra assistance from Pure Channels. We have some content management assistance from them because of our own resource constraints. But it's 2 or 3 people. It's really not that big a resource burden. As I say, the thing you have to be mindful of is having local language approvers. You know, I can't sit here from Maidenhead and say what should go out in German. So having those local approvers to be able to do that element for you maybe will involve a few more people. But depending on the content you have and how easy the system is to use, you know, if you had a full-time person, it could be a one-person job. It's phenomenally easy to use. So yeah, it hasn't been largely resource intensive internally.
Angela, if I may add, let me say a little story there. First of all, as you described it, the platform is also designed so that you can bring on your agencies as content creators or content approvers. And to illustrate that and to relay that back to Adobe, Angela knows well, in Germany, for instance, the local marketing managers has actually tasked 2 agencies, one to create social media content and one to approve that social media content on his behalf. And therefore, there is actually no really local Adobe support, apart from the fact it's done by 2 of their local approved agencies. So it gives you an idea that, you know, there's multiple ways you can use the system, and if there's really no resources available, you can actually outsource the content creation and posting and approving to other parties. Okay. I've got another question for you, Angela, and we have a bit more time, so we'll go through the questions. Yep. How did you get hundreds of partners to go through the process of activating their social media accounts on their profile preferences?
We just made it very, very easy for them. So things I mentioned are, you know, having data pre-populated, so they don't have to sit there and fill out their name, their address, all of those kind of details over and over. We already had their partner type and levels. So literally all they had to do, we did a very nice sort of registration email that explained the benefits of social on demand. We had some videos, and we sent them the email. We made it very easy to register. And then we also had local briefings. So in Germany and France and the UK, our channel marketing managers at their partner briefings obviously sold the system. I've done demos myself because it's extremely easy to demonstrate, because all you do is receive an email, you click on a link, you approve it, and it's done. I mean, it's unbelievably easy. So it was just showing them the ease of use, really. And a lot of our partners, I think, started off maybe with one social. They saw how much was happening, and then they've added more LinkedIn accounts, more Twitter accounts. And it's just really grown kind of by its own success as well. But we didn't have to do much convincing. There weren't any incentives or anything like that. It was very much positioning the benefits of the platform, and they chose to join and adopt that, really. And I think another key benefit was the fact that, you know, a lot of partners out there do not have social resources, and though they're not, you know, openly admitting that, I think they are genuinely very, very grateful of any of assistance we can give them in that area. You know, the larger resellers, they have PR and comm strategies, social strategies, and that's fine. But a lot of what we do through the channel is into that SMB market, and they don't have those resources. So it was also, you know, really helping them with a gap and just making them realize the gap was there and then taking it forward.
Okay. Now I've got a question I'm going to answer because this is another interesting question, but what platforms are supported for the newsletters, Salesforce or Oracle? So let me clarify. The platform News on Demand here that's provided to the partners enables the brands, companies like Adobe for instance, to create article contents from within and to actually, the newsletter itself that actually looks like an HTML newsletter and that's required HTML is actually created dynamically by the system. So there is no necessary support for Salesforce or Oracle or that. Okay, the platform is self-sufficient, enables the creation of and the dispatch of emails or newsletters directly from within. The support, the integration with Salesforce, that's something to do with obviously partner records and partner registrations. And as I said earlier, we can do single sign-on with different portals and different platforms. So I hope I answered the question there. I need to ask you that question, Angela. I'm not sure what kind of answer you're going to give. Someone is asking, so how much does it cost?
I'm not going to give you the actual cost, but I have to say I was extremely surprised at how cost effective it was, and I can tell you now it is less cost and less resource than anything we were doing around our communications before. It's a nice setup. I don't know, Olivia, if you're going to run through costs, but there's sort of a monthly software fee in terms of the platform, and then depending on what services you want from Pure Channels, obviously there's different costs for that, but it was extremely cost effective and I don't want to say cheaper, but a lot more efficient in terms of pricing than some of the other sort of email automation systems out there that didn't even have the social element. So for us, it's been really, really good. It's been extremely cost effective. I didn't have challenges in getting the budget signed off because it was extremely cost effective. And moving forward, having seen the successes that we already have, I don't predict sort of any issues in if I needed further budget. As Olivier's mentioned, we are now taking the platform to North America, and I actually had a call a couple of weeks back with our Asia Pac team where they want to take it out to that side of the region too. So hopefully in a short time it could well be a global platform for us as well, but it's extremely cost effective and the model of pricing is really effective. So I'm going to throw that back to Olivier and say I'm sure he'd be more than happy to discuss price proposals with you.
That's right. I'll be delighted. And as you said, it's very cost effective, and thank you for mentioning that, Angela. I have to say, I think first of all, I really enjoyed that. Thank you for joining us all today. Thank you for all your questions. I think we now run out of time. So I think I would like to just thank you, Angela, again for presenting today. Thank you for doing that, and thank you all for attending. There will be a recording of the webinar. We will be sending you that as a follow-up. If you have any questions, just feel free to raise that. The slides will be sent to you, and if you need a proposal, let us know. We'll be happy to do very cost-effective proposals for you. So thank you again for attending, and thank you, Angela, for your presentation today. Okay.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.